Grumble, grumble. Hey everyone, it's the Grumpy Meeple, and I am coming back at you with the second part of my critique of the Shadows of Brimstone, Lost Tombs, and the Hell Train Kickstarter campaign. This second installment is going to be all about the actual product offering in this campaign and why I think it's kind of just a stupid backward step that Flying Frog should have never taken, basically. So, right off the bat, if you've watched my previous video and you're watching this one immediately after, you'll see that the funding amount has remained virtually exactly the same. This thing is crawling already, and it's only 4 days old. It's not even halfway. But that's beside the point. This is a result of the problems with the campaign. It's like, this is like the symptom that's arising from the issues with the campaign that we're going to continue to talk about here. So, my big problem right off the bat is the idea of them launching 2 more entry points into this franchise with the Lost Tombs of Kamuntet and the Impossible Hell Train core sets. Basically, my philosophy is that these should not be core sets at all. So why is that? So right off the bat, the previous campaign, Brimstone Adventures, the product offering there was very much billed as, hey, this is the new entry point for players who want to try and get into the Shadows of Brimstone experience. It's a little bit cheaper. It's a little more well-rounded. It's got stuff like the allies included in it. It has the team heroes and team abilities, which are a little bit easier to learn than the traditional kind of full heroes. And the whole thing was just specifically designed to attract new players and create a new launching point for people to get into the franchise and for, I assume, for retail to be able to carry, and by putting out another 2 core sets, they've just completely shat away all of that effort and work that they put into creating that, because now these are the new starting points, apparently, because they're core sets, and so you're just creating like so much confusion in your fucking labyrinthine product line, which is already confusing enough to the point where people have like Excel maps of fucking how these different expansions interact and what fucking box this one is related to and everything. I mean, it's already ludicrously complicated, and by putting out another 2 core sets, you've just complicated it even further. Is a retail store supposed to, in the future, carry these 2 new core sets? Should they still be leading with Shadows of Brimstone Adventures? Like, imagine you're working at a retail store and someone walks up to you and says, I'm interested in trying this game Shadows of Brimstone I heard about. Where should I start? How do you answer that question as a fucking employee of that store? It's like a 20-minute long discussion instead of saying, "Oh, go over there," like with every other fucking dungeon crawler that's ever been made, like with fucking Hero Quest and Descent 2nd Edition and 3rd Edition for that matter. You have one core box, the basic set that you keep in stock perpetually, and then you build on that. You don't keep reinventing the fucking wheel every single time you want to put out a new game or try out a new gameplay element. It's just so remarkably stupid that it just boggles my mind that they don't get this. It's just like so fundamental. And you might say, oh, well, who cares? You know, who cares about the retail presence, or who cares if it's hard to get into? Well, I mean, we all should care, because this fucking campaign is dying, or at least stagnating, and is in every way falling behind the previous campaigns for this system that came before it, which means that, you know, this game is, that's just not good for the long-term health of the game. If you want to be really pedantic about it, it's not good for unlocking stretch goals in this campaign, because, you know, they haven't announced a new stretch goal in like 2 days. And again, this thing's only 5 days old or something like that, 4 or 5 days old. This graphic has been the same for the last couple days because they're not making any progress. They still haven't unlocked this fucking guy. So, you know, and the retail presence is important for driving the kind of long-term health of the game, for adoption of it within your local kind of gaming hobby ecosystem. You know, it's just, it's important. And so I think that the brand confusion that they're causing by coming out with another 2 core sets is just a boneheaded, ass backwards way of going about this. These should have been expansions, basically. Make them big box expansions. Make them super deluxe expansions. I mean, they're perfectly happy to alter their product line when they need to. They've come out with a new product type in this campaign as an add-on. The Terror of the Deep Enemy Theme Pack. This is a new thing. This has never existed before. Neither has this, for that matter, but that's a little more specific. So they could have found a way to not try to recreate the wheel with this. They just didn't, because they're dumb, basically. So that's like the theoretical reason why it's annoying that they're coming out with 2 new core sets. And maybe you'll say, oh, well, but that doesn't actually have any real-world impact on you. Well, you know what does have real-world impact on me? Is selling me the same fucking shit over and over and over and over and over again. Okay? And when you buy one of these core sets, if you already own a core set, you're getting a lot of shit you don't fucking need. Like, I just went through my Brimstone Adventures set last night, punching out the cardboard. There is 3 or 4 massive cardboard kind of punchboard slabs worth of shit that is completely useless to me. It's literally going straight into the garbage because I already own it all, because I've already bought a core set in the past. I don't need more fucking health tokens or sanity tokens or exotic herb tokens or fucking red and white basic bitch dice. You know, it's just they're shipping you a bunch, and cardboard is heavy. It's the heaviest thing in that box, and they're shipping you like fully, I would say, 50 to 60% of the cardboard that comes in this box, if you already own a core box, is fucking trash. Why is that important? I mean, it's important because the heavier it is, the more expensive it is to ship. They also have to manufacture it. It's adding to the price of your product that you're selling me. It's what necessitates these gigantic, ridiculous tomb-style boxes, coffin boxes, that you have to find a place to put. And it's just generating an immense amount of waste. Like, literally, if you gave a shit about the environment, I kind of fall in the perspective of it's fucked already, so it's game over. But if you did care about that, boy, you really don't want to back these campaigns, because you are getting a bunch of trash in your box. So, you know, that's super annoying as well. And On top of that, they're selling you, like, the rule book is fundamentally the same in every single one of these books. I don't even know why I keep the rule book for the individual expansions, because you could sum up the differences between the different core box rules on probably a single double-sided sheet. Like that you could capture all the new rules for the Lost Tomb of Kamuntet there. And everything else is just repetitive shit that you already have. It's the same 6 basic missions in every single goddamn core set. So 5 times they've sold me the same 6 basic missions. Why are those always the same? Laziness. You know, there's no other answer. There's no fucking rational reason why they're the same. They're the same because these fucking guys don't want to come up with 6 more starting missions. You know? Your injury charts and mutation charts are always the same. Why? Why are the injuries that you would take in fucking Valhalla Viking land the same as the ones that you would take in the Old West? There's no thematic reason for it. It's fucking abject laziness, and it's this idea of the base core system and not wanting to change it. But if that is your mindset, then why do you keep putting out new identical versions of it? Like, it just makes no fucking sense. So the whole idea that they're selling us more core sets, to me, is a shit idea. I don't want to hear from any of you fucking Frog fanboys about how they have to constantly refresh the product line so that they can have retail presence. This game has no retail presence, okay? It never has, and it never will. I've been to 30 fucking board game stores, 40, 50 board game stores in the last 5 years. I have seen this game at 2. I can count 2 stores that I've been to, and that's between Seattle, Minnesota, Minneapolis area, New York, upstate New York, western New York, Colorado, Kansas City, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I have seen literally 2 stores that have ever stocked this game. So this idea that they need to be constantly putting out new core sets for new players is just stupid nonsense bullshit. They could easily have instead reprinted the Brimstone Adventures sets and sold 2 expansions as well, one of which was for the Lost Tombs of Kamuntet and the other one for the Impossible Hell Train, and then had a pledge level. Are you new to this game series? Pledge here and you can get the Adventures sets. Pledge here and you can get the Adventure sets and the new expansions. Or if you already own all this shit, pledge here so you can just get the new stuff. Not a bunch of old trash that nobody fucking wants or needs. Okay? So that's my second issue with it, is the constantly dumping piles of trash in along with the stuff that I actually want in the set. You know, the third problem is that by constantly reinventing this wheel, by always making each core set the starting point for new players, it really limits the scope of what they can actually do in these sets. You know, it's always, it makes it so that they're very repetitive. You're always going to get, you know, basically the same number of miniatures. They're always going to be the same breakdown. There's going to be a few small, a few medium, a few large, and an XL. You're always going to get 4 heroes, and they're always going to have to fall into those basic dungeon crawling fucking archetypes, because you have to have somebody who is, one of these people is presumably a healer. One of them is a tank, the mechanic. One of them is a straight damage dealer. One of them is a caster. Okay? And if you go down here to the Impossible Hell Train, you're getting the same 4 fucking archetypes again. Ooh, there's the reporter. There's the cavalry officer. He's probably some kind of a leader archetype. There's the bounty hunter doing damage, and the rail worker fucking soaking up damage, probably. So you're limiting the scope of what you can do in these sets by the fact that you always have to sell it to new players every single time. So that's another problem. You know, again, you always have to include the full fucking rule book. You always have to include 6 worthless goddamn starter missions. Why? Like, there's no reason why that has to be. It's just that's what the frogs want to do, which is fine if you're kicking ass and taking names in the market. But when you've got a fan base this rabid to the point where you can run your own fucking convention every year and have it be financially like doable, but you still can't break past fucking 800 grand after 5 days of running a highly anticipated campaign, you know, you're just the scope of everything for the frogs is so limited. Like, it's just, I would be embarrassed if I fucking worked there at just how repetitive, how boring we are in our product offerings, and how resistant we are to change and to moving this series forward. You know, there's a lot of things I like about this game. I mean, it's a fun dungeon crawl romp. There's no question about that. But it is a pain in the ass to get to the table. You're rolling dice for fucking armor, for defense, for attack. There's a lot of dice rolling, a lot of like crunching numbers on the fly. There are areas for improvement, and if they were going to put out more core sets, I would have at least hoped that they would have done some major kind of necessary upgrades to the system and the way the game plays. But they didn't. It's the same fucking rule book. That's why they don't even bother putting a copy of the PDF, a PDF of the rule book on the campaign page, because they're just like, yeah, anybody who needs it, they can just go read the one we put out in 2010. You know, it's just, man, it just boggles my mind. Like, there are so many cool things you could be doing with this product, and to just be shitting out another 2 core sets is just really, I don't get it. I just don't get it. Yeah, moving on. We talked about how repetitive the content is in these things. You're going to get a depth trap. Garbage if you already own a version of this game. Throw it in the trash. It is fucking worthless. You're going to get, again, an 8-sided die, a peril die, 16 red and white, 6-sided die. Like, there's just like really like simple basic things. Like, why can't they fucking put some cool dice in here? They have cool dice. They make them. They sell them separately. Why can't you throw some of those into this fucking box instead of these tiny little fucking shitty basic bitch China fucking produced, you know, 6-sided red and white dice? But no, it's going to come with the same fucking boring shit because these guys can't be bothered to get off their asses and try something new, you know. It's going to come with all these counters you don't want, and just like everything is just the same as it always is. This is the change right here. 3 times large trap reference cards. That's literally the difference between this and the product that they put out in 2010. I don't think that's good enough. And, you know, the miniature quality, basically. Another problem I have is that this is not... This set in particular is not even like a well-rounded core set. Because Okay, it says the Lost Tombs core set contains everything you need to play. This is technically true, okay? But look at these enemies here. What do you got? Tomb King, the Cult of Horus, the Scarabs. They're all Egyptian themed. And this set comes with an otherworld that is the sunken city of Ferox, which is supposed to be inhabited by a dynasty of ruthless vampires. Where's my fucking vampire miniatures in this set? Where's anything related to the otherworld for this set? There's nothing. They are selling you a $45 add-on to give you that. And if you don't buy the fucking add-on, where is this stupid thing? Yeah. Boom. And if you don't buy this, then what you get is a bunch of lazy fucking shitted out cards that'll let you somehow try to convince yourself that these scarabs are vampire scarabs or whatever the fuck, you know? Or that this guy is not from Egypt. He's from the sunken city of Ferox. Again, laziness. Fucking just not delivering the value. This set, to me, is dog shit compared to the Impossible Hell Train. And if they had just run this campaign with maybe if they had just run this campaign with the one core set, the Impossible Hell Train, it's different enough that I could have let this shit slide, because it doesn't come with, like, it is making some major changes. It comes with a railroad board. It comes with these double-sided rail car map tiles that are unlike anything that they've ever had before. And it comes with a well-rounded set of enemies for the real world, right here and right here, and the other world, here and here and here. So just the product themselves, particularly the Lost Tombs set, just seems like kind of a shitty, poorly thought out, poorly implemented idea. And I know they've done this in the past. You know, if you look at the original core sets, they have a bunch of kind of more generic enemies that you would face. You know, just undead and the stalkers. Which, are they from the Void? Or are they from, you know, the City of the Ancients? I don't know. You know, but they were generic enough that kind of worked. This is not generic. This is ultra specific to ancient Egypt, and it's gonna feel real janky and kind of cheap when you're going into the sunken city of Ferox and you're still fighting the same fucking crypt mummies, only they're called the Atlantean crypt mummies. So yeah, not a fan of the product offering here. And even beyond that, as I've mentioned, these sets just aren't as well rounded as the adventure sets were. The adventure sets come with enemies for both worlds, the real world and the other world. The adventure sets come with allies in the box, which is something that you're going to have to pay extra for with this set. So you won't even get to experience the fun of playing and hiring these allies in your game if you're buying this, as opposed to if you bought Gates of Valhalla or Valley of the Serpent King. And so this and these sets are not going to have the narrative focus that those sets had. You know, the whole idea of Brimstone Adventures was that, okay, these are going to be a linked narrative campaign. You're going to be upgrading your town. You're going to be through the perilous expeditions. We're going to finally be giving you some kind of a hex crawl implementation. And by the way, they're obviously fucking struggling with that because it's been 5 years and they haven't said a fucking word about it. Which boggles my mind too. Some random guy was able to create an incredible system of overworld play for this game series called Hexcrawl. And the guys who made the game can't fucking figure it out. They can't even just rip that guy off. The whole game system is a rip-off of Warhammer Quest to begin with, so what are you fucking worried about stealing Hexcrawl for, you know? It's just like, the whole thing is a regression. This is back to basics. This is back to missions that have no fucking meaning, that aren't related to each other, and if I'm wrong, then Flying Frog should be proving that I'm wrong in this campaign, and they are not. They do not spell out anywhere in here that this stuff is going to be, these really cool linked narrative campaigns. I've heard people refer to some of the text in here as, like, look, they are right here. Immersive adventure. They say this shit with every fucking campaign. Okay? It's not that story driven. Because it says right here, it uses the Shadows of Brimstone game engine, not the Shadows of Brimstone Adventure game engine. So, yeah, I don't know. This is a regression. Built-in campaign system. This is absolute horse shit. There is no campaign system in Shadows of Brimstone. There is writing down the shit you got in the previous game and then making up your own fucking reason to go back to town and go on another completely unrelated mission, but there is no campaign system like Tanaris Adventures. Tanaris Adventures is a fucking campaign. This is a loose framework in which they basically don't disavow you from writing stuff down, and that's as far as it goes. So it's a step back from Shadows of Brimstone Adventures as it is, and that's yet another issue that I have with it. This is a regression back to the game that they put out in 2010, and that's just not, it's not the way I personally wanted the system to move forward. I thought that Brimstone Adventures could be the new starting point, even though they said during that campaign there will be more core sets. I just assumed that they wouldn't be stupid enough to confuse the market by putting out even more entry points into this game series. Obviously, I was wrong. But, yeah, so those are my problems with the product that's being offered here. Now, I say all that. I also say I am backing this at the highest level. I will probably buy everything that comes in the campaign. I am currently unboxing and assembling the miniatures for Brimstone Adventures for the Gates of Valhalla, and I'm going to do a video about that to counter the negativity of this video. And they are amazing, and I'm looking forward to showing them off. You know, this stuff, it is a quality experience. It's janky as fuck, and these guys they refuse to give people what they want. Like, no, people want this stuff, but people also want stuff like 3D terrain elements and a real campaign system and fucking cards for the town items. Stuff that people have been asking for 20 years. And when you bring it up in the campaign or on the Facebook, what you'll get is a bunch of shill fucking wannabe frogs coming out of the woodworks and telling you about how easy it is to print all that stuff yourself and DIY it. And they're full of shit. It's not easy. It's a like expert level hobbyist endeavor that 99.9% of people are not going to do. 99.9% of people are not going to print out all of the shit required to get Hexcrawl up and running at a level that they're of professionalism that they're going to be happy with. I did, but I am insane. Most people are not insane. And so the idea that, oh, well, you can get your own 3D terrain. You just go out and buy a 3D printer and then teach yourself how to 3D print and then print everything and then make up rules for how it all works. Like, fuck you, shill, fucking worthless fanboys. You're not doing anything to help these products move forward. You're not doing anything to push the frogs in the direction that they, you know... You're not suggesting anything. You're just defending a corporate entity for fan points so that you can go to fucking Dice Fest and have a root beer with fucking Scott Hill, which is great. I love these guys. I talked with one of the brothers at Dice Fest. He showed me around the store. He explained the process for printing the new miniatures, the new thermoplastic miniatures that they're making, and he showed me in the store. These are the ones that are thermoplastic. These ones haven't been done yet. We're going to do these later. It was great. I love these guys. I just am of the belief that if you love something and you see it stagnating or struggling, then the best thing you can do is pipe up and suggest an alternative and push back on the narrative of everything's fine, we're just going to keep putting out the exact same product offering from 13, 15 years ago, and here's your fucking worthless rulebook, and here's your worthless cards that are always the same, the fucking peril, your scavenge cards, loot cards. Just that there's a good chunk of the cards in this game too that are worthless if you already own a core set. Okay, I throw them away. They have no value. Depending on the set. And like in this case, maybe you keep them because you want to be able to thematically, like, oh, these cards, it's updated art. But beyond that, they're worthless. They don't offer any new gameplay. Why is that? I have no fucking idea. Why can't the scavenge cards for Ancient Egypt be different than the scavenge cards for the Old West? I don't know. There is no rational reason for that. There's laziness, and there's not wanting to fucking tinker with the system that you put together 13 years ago. But the problem is these things age, and they don't hold up particularly well against their contemporaries. Tanaris Adventures is a better game than Shadows of Brimstone in every single way. Period. Full stop. Okay? It's more immersive. It's got loads of interesting decisions to make and story beats, and each character is a truly unique and exciting individual, and every single action you take in that game is loaded with all sorts of neat tactical puzzles to solve and decisions to make. This game, you're rolling dice and then moving your guy. And a lot of times, that's all you're fucking doing. You go through this whole room, and you're just rolling dice and moving a couple spaces. And, oh no, I rolled a 1, so now I'm really slow. And, it's just like, it's antiquated as fuck. I love it. It has its place in the world, but it does need to be updated. And somebody needs to be pushing the frogs to fucking think about the value offering that they are presenting to people who already own all this stuff. Make just a core box. Make a box that's literally called the Shadows of Brimstone Starter Set, that comes with a base set of the rules, that comes with the dice, that comes with the basic cards, and then sell all this stuff as Otherworlds, or some other new expansion that you come up with. Like there's a lot of ways you could go about this other than continually selling me the exact same product over and over again with a reskin, And people will say, well, then don't back it. Fuck you, Angry Meeple, or whatever your name is. And to that I'd say, I want to back it. I like the system. I just think there's room for improvement. And so that's it. That's all my thoughts. This is pretty rambly, but I feel like I made my point. I've been making these points in various comments throughout the Kickstarter, and to be honest, I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of having to rewrite and repost, so I'm just going to make this video. I'm going to throw it onto the Kickstarter. I'm going to get a bunch of people telling me to go fuck myself, and I'll sleep like an angel tonight. So I hope you enjoyed this, frogs. I hope you got something out of this. You're not the only game company out there making these boneheaded tactical decisions. They all do. Somebody was just telling me about the new Ares, the campaign from Ares Games for Sword and Sorcery, and how it's a $90 buy-in for a $45 expansion. fucking stupid. Tanar's Adventures was riddled with issues. I blasted them in my gameplay videos, and they went back and they fucking fixed them all. And for the update for the Ultimate Tanar's expansion, you know, you're seeing all these games coming out with revised rule sets, and Brimstone is just one that just doesn't. It just refuses to change. It's like, oh, this is good. And, you know, this rule set. Yeah, it's 35 years old because we stole it from Warhammer Quest, but it's still good. And you know, no, it's not. It does need to be updated. There needs to be less dice rolling. There needs to be less fucking looking back and forth between 40 different counters and fucking cards and I don't know, how much damage did I do? You know, like, it's bloated. And I just think this campaign, or at least the Adventures campaign, was an opportunity to kind of reset and come up and modernize the product line a little bit. And you just didn't take it. You're just dumping out another 2 core sets, 30% of which is garbage to people like me who already own a core set. So those are my thoughts. Hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think in the comments. I will talk to you later.